Welcome. Today we're going to take a look at rhetorical knowledge. This is a skill set that you'll need to have to be a good writer, an informed reader, and to be able to engage in intelligent discussion. So the one aspect of rhetorical knowledge that we're going to cover in this video is purpose. There are several different aspects to it, but we're just going to look at purpose here today. All right, so what is purpose? So you've got a couple of different things going on. So you have your author's intended purpose when they sit down to write. So as a writer, you have something that you want to say. You have something you want to get across, and that's what is causing you to sit down and to write that particular piece. Sometimes that purpose can change. So sometimes when you sit down to write a particular piece, you have an idea in mind. You have what you intend that you want to communicate to your audience. But as you sit down to write, or as you sit down to do that research, sometimes you'll find that the research will lead you in a different direction, or you'll find that the original purpose that you started with was too broad or too narrow, and so you may have to adjust that. This is very normal, and this can happen all the time. So you can end up with an unintended purpose or a changing purpose. What this means is just that you started with one idea of what you wanted to communicate. But then as you started to work on your particular piece, you found, you know what, I need to go in a different direction, or I need to add more information, or I need to hone this down because it's just too big. This is very normal for this to happen. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, don't worry, just keep working on it. You're definitely on the right track. All right, another thing you want to take a look at are what are the skills and tools that you need to get your message across. You're going to take your purpose, your reason for writing in the first place, and you're going to take into consideration your audience. We talked about this in a separate video. Audience is a part of rhetorical knowledge. You're going to want to take into consideration, I'm writing this piece for a particular individual or for a particular group, and I've got my purpose that I want to get a message across. So what are the tools and skills that you need to do that? Is there a particular language that you need to know about to communicate well? Do you need to do particular research? Is there specific information that you need to tap into? For example, if you're going to write to a group of mathematicians or scientists, you're going to want to put some numbers, some data, some scientific information into that piece because that's really going to appeal to that specific audience. So you want to take these kinds of things into consideration. What are the skills and tools that you need to get your message across? You'll also want to consider what is the tone, the mood, or the voice that you want to use. We communicate very differently depending upon our purposes and depending upon our specific audiences. So for example, when I sit down and chit chat with my friends, I use a very different tone than when I'm in a professional situation and when I'm communicating with my colleagues. You're going to be the same way, depending upon who you're communicating with and what your purposes of your particular piece, you're going to use a different tone, mood, or voice. Okay? You're also going to consider your language that you'll use, the sentence structure, the length of the piece, and depth and breadth of content. So there's going to be a huge difference between if you're writing a short story or if you're writing a novel, right? The language is going to be different. Your sentence structure might be different. Length of piece is definitely going to be very different, and the depth and breadth of content is going to be different too. So if you're writing a short story, you've got to keep in mind, all right, my purpose here is to do a short story, and I'd like something that's around 4 pages, maybe 1,000 words. So you need to keep that thing pretty contained. You can't let it become too big because you're getting outside then the parameters of your intention and your purpose in writing that piece. You also may want to consider your audience and what kind of language do you want to use? You're going to use highly scientific language, or are you going to use really casual, everyday language? What is the sentence structure that you want to use? For that, you want to take into consideration your audience's background. What kind of information does the audience have, and what's going to appeal to that audience? So if I'm writing something for a group of, say, 4th graders, that's going to be very different than if I'm writing something for a group of 10th graders. My sentence structure is going to be very different, and the language that I'm going to use is going to be different. So again, consider your audience and consider your purpose. You want to be able to meet both of those things by giving your audience what they want, but also meeting the purpose that you're intending to get across. in your piece. And the last thing you want to take it into consideration is, can you connect your message to thought leaders, to researchers, and to academics in this field? So anytime that you're providing information that can back up what it is that you have to say, how can you connect this with other professionals that are in that particular field? Especially if you're writing outside of your area of expertise, if you can tap into the research of people who are experts in this field, that can add a lot of weight and importance to your particular piece that you're writing. So again, rhetorical knowledge here. This is all around purpose. The more that you understand how to use purpose, how to set your purpose, and how to write toward your purpose as a writer, the better writer that you're going to be. And also the better that you're able to understand purpose when you're reading a piece of writing, the better reader that you will be, the better that you will have an understanding of what that writer intended and how you can then be a more informed reader. Hope that information is helpful to you. Good luck with your writing.